Living from our heart, living from our core, living from our power, we all get more. We are powerful women.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Transformation Summit. I'm Sue Erda. I'm your host for this beautiful event. I'm so grateful to be here. And I get the extreme honor of talking to these 20 authors who are the co-authors in the book, The Art and Truth of Transformation for Women, where they are sharing their stories of transformation of some part of their life because they're doing it for you, so that you can feel empowered and encouraged and inspired by their story and know that you too can have your own transformation at any time in your life, and you'll know that from their example. So thank you for listening in and hearing these stories now. I'm so grateful to get to introduce you to these authors. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Sandy Levey Lunden. She is a wonderful woman. I'm going to read a brief introduction of Sandy so you can know something about her, then we'll talk with her. Sandy is an international speaker, counselor, and life coach for over 40 years. She's created 24 original series, each in response to a challenge presented to her by someone during one of their life coaching or counseling sessions. Sandy was one of the first and original life coaches in the 1980s, and before this career even existed. So that's really kind of cool. I love that. Her unique style of coaching has helped over 40,000 people in North America, Australia, and Europe to heal their past negative beliefs, traumas, personal pain, and relationship challenges. Sandy lived in Sweden for 11 years and now resides in beautiful Bellingham, Washington in the Pacific Northwest. And Sandy, I'm so grateful to talk to you today. How are you?
I'm doing well. I am happy to do this interview with everybody who wants to hear about my transformation and how it can spark something in their own lives.
Yeah, me too. You really inspire me, Sandy, because like you said, you were like one of the pioneers in this life coaching industry. And there are so many coaches out there these days, but you were one of the people that helped probably form what it really means to be a life coach and to do that and creating all those programs. It's just incredible that you've done that. And I love what you have chosen today for your topic for this interview, the power of clearing. Release the negative past and fearful future to live in the powerful present. That is so good. I can't wait to hear what you say. But first, let's talk about your own journey, your personal journey, because you have had a very interesting and fulfilling life. So let's tell the audience a little bit about that.
Well, we all have a journey that is a story, or kind of like a movie. And I can remember back to when I was 7 years old. I began my journey, and I was born in the Bronx, so this very much shaped one of the 5 boroughs of New York, very much shaped the way that I am today, because I was a very inquisitive child, more interested in my quest than I ever was in being a child. Like, I wasn't interested so much in playing. I was interested in talking to people who were mainly adults at that time, asking them questions like, why do you repeat the same negative story over and over? Because, I would sit in my mother's kitchen, everybody would show up there. We lived in a tenement, and people would come in and out all day long and basically would do what I call share or speak. And they were sharing their most difficult stories or pain. So I got to be privy to what was bothering people. And I saw, even as a child, I could see that some people had a happier life, and some people had the same story. They were coming in every few days and repeating and going over their pain. So really, I was on a quest since I was a child to help people notice their pain or suffering and find a method to release it. I started into that when I was 7 years old, asking my mother the big question over and over, and asked in many ways and many times, why are you here? I would sometimes say, why did God send you? And then I also thought, why did God send each one of these people who end up in my mother's kitchen?
Wow. When you were 7, you were doing this.
Yes, we were doing that. And my mother made a joke one day. She had 2 jokes. One was, are you writing a book? That was from the quiz. And I said, no, I just want to know. I'm not writing anything. And because I just want to know, how does life work? And I even said that sometimes. And the other thing is, if you could tell me why you're here, because there must be a reason that each individual person is here. I always thought it can't be an accident, even at 7 years old. There must be an individual reason. And that became my lifelong quest. And that's why in 1980, when I started my professional business, I called the business On Purpose. And most people, they didn't know from the word purpose at that point. It was an original idea. What is your purpose, vision, and mission? I was into that in 1980, but I actually been into it since I was 7 years old, looking for the answer and how people
Wow.
would discover it, really.
That's amazing. That's so amazing because you're right. Purpose, just what the past 20 years, I guess, and really specifically the past maybe 10 years, purpose is more and more important to people. And so I love that. In fact, our next anthology book is all around the topic of purpose. So I love that. It's so interesting.
I'm very excited by the title of it.
Yeah. Yeah, women living on purpose, because that's what, feels good to do that. And so I love that. And your business is that, which is great. So you, in 1990, you were living in Sweden, and through prayer, you were given the power of clearing process that you ended up teaching, and you still teach to so many people because clearing is very important to you. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But tell us about this. You felt like at the time, and it is a breakthrough. And tell me, how has that process that you got, the power of clearing, affected yourself in your own business? And what about your clients in their careers and how their lives went on, all your coaching, counseling, life coaching, all of that? How has that process been used by you?
Okay, so I'll just say I got to live in Sweden, even though I am an American, by marrying a Swedish man in 1989, who I met on a tour in Hawaii in 1987. That's how I got to be there. And because most people wonder, how did you get to live in Sweden? Well, for 11 years I lived in Sweden and I was part of this culture. But very shortly after we married, we held an international peace conference. And in that conference, he felt he had fallen in love with another woman who was like, say, 30 years younger than us, and thought he would want to be with her, perhaps. And so I hadn't really thought of we had an agreement, kind of like a very conscious thing. If we ever got into a situation like this, we'd go through a conscious process to determine the truth of the situation and get counseling and help in certain ways. It was all written down exactly how it would go, kind of like a conscious process to work with conflict that I had written down, and we followed it. And part of it I felt was he didn't really want to have all this counseling that I wanted to have, because that's my field. I decided to do a prayer, kind of like in my desperate situation. I felt I want to do this prayer that I did when I was a child, asking God to show me the answer. And I said, to all pain and suffering in relationship, and a process that would free everyone from anything that had to do with infidelity, betrayal, abandonment, separation, and rejection. These were the words.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I could last 31 more days with my husband visiting his girlfriend. And my husband thought this was a very, because he wanted to go visit her and then come back. And I said, well, it's a very difficult thing for anybody to do. He said, well, you're a counselor. You're a life coach. You should be able to do it. And I said, if I wanted to, I could, but I don't really want to. I have to want to be able to do it. And so this prayer went on for 30 days, 30 nights. I was praying constantly. In other words, I had my daughter at that time. She was 4 years old, Charisma, her name is. And when I wasn't talking to Charisma, I was in the prayer. So I didn't see any clients. It was a miracle that happened that I had a course happening that weekend at the end of the 31st day of the prayer called The Art of Surrender. I thought this is going to be a huge surrender if I make it to that course and there are any people in it. Because I thought, who would want to come to a teacher who was in so much pain and suffering as I was going through? I thought, there'll be no one registered for the course and I could cancel it. But that was not true. 35 people registered on their own without me doing anything.
Wow.
And I had a whole team that was going to show up to my husband and I's castle in Gothenburg, Sweden. We had this castle at that point that we had built on the edge of a lake. So that was the defining moment of my life, because in that course, Spirit revealed to me a process that I would later name the power of clearing, which involved a 3-part process, was actually told to me exactly what to do, exactly what to say. It's a 3-part emotional process. It takes a present day feeling going back to a past traumatic event and clears it through what I call big T truth and forgiveness, ending up at peace and love. And so I
Wow.
tried it constantly throughout the course on all these people and on myself, because in order for me to teach, I had to get clear. So I tried the process first on me, and it, it worked. I got out of my pain, and I was present, because the purpose of the process is to put you present in peace and love. That's all you'll get out of it. Is it will end the past fear and the projected fear into the future, and you will end up right here and now in peace and love. And that's where I got to. And all 35 people ended up in the same place.
Wow.
And I was at the end of it ecstatic. I mean, I was about as high, as happy as I've ever been in my whole life. And then I tried it on during that week that after it. I tried it on many couples, including my husband and his girlfriend, who ended up in a huge conflict. And they told me to come over immediately. They were so upset. And of course, I went there, as I always would. Somebody asked me to do something. Oh, I pretty much always say yes, or try to find a way to say yes. And I said, well, I'll come over and help you, just as you are as people.
Hmm.
And I did that, and it worked on them. So then after that, I knew I had found something that Spirit had given me that would change the course of my whole coaching practice, my counseling practice, because I've been a life coach 10 years before that also.
Hmm.
But this was now something, a defined method, which I still use.
Wow, I love that. So let's talk specifically about this. We're talking about clearing. For the audience, just explain to us what you mean by clearing and why do we have to do it? Why is it important that we clear our guilt, our shame, anything else like that?
Well, you're right, Sue. Specifically, what we're really clearing is our guilt, our shame, and our fear, and the negative beliefs that we interpreted that these incidents mean to us. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthwhile. No one will ever love me. I'll never be chosen. No one will ever listen to me and care what I'm saying. I am powerless. I am worthless. And these beliefs keep coming up all the time in what I call core beliefs. They're attached to incidents. Most of these incidents are buried so deep in the unconscious and subconscious, it would never be accessed except through a very unusual method like the clearing. In the clearing, I've had thousands of people remember incidents they could not tell me about ever before the clearing. So the clearing will take a few remarks or a few emotional statements and end up somewhere where a person never thought they'd ever go. And that's what I love about clearing. It comes so fast to the point where the originating incident of the trauma will come forth.
Mm. Interesting. So do you find that most trauma happens like this before we're a certain age? Like, is it age 6? I've heard that before. Like, almost everything, all our subconscious beliefs are installed before we're age 6, basically, and then we keep building on that. But are you the traumas you're talking about usually something in childhood?
Yes, we're usually talking about something I always say before age 7, but it can be a little bit later. Mostly everything that has ever happened happens before that. And of course, as a grandmother, which I am now, I have 5 grandchildren. I'm watching it more clearly than I ever understood it before, because I didn't have all these wisdom, knowledge, and processes when my daughter was that little. But I'm watching it in my grandchildren like I was doing some kind of a study, actually, to be sure that nothing happens that we don't complete and take to peace. Like, for instance, my grandchild, when he was 3, fell off the little bridge that goes from my house, the neighbor's house, to a small stream, what we call a brook, because it's actually a brook, and it can be like a river at moments. It's so raging in the winter. So he fell into it, fell off the bridge, and he fell into it. And now it wasn't very tremendous fall, maybe say 2 feet, but it was traumatic to end up in the freezing water, especially when he expected. So we were sure we went over it many times to feel that he felt okay about it, that he saw it was a mistake, that he was okay, and that he can trust, and he could see it was very slippery. Anybody would have fallen, over and over. And then I felt a bit about it, so that it didn't end up to be one of these traumatic, shocking moments.
Wow. Yeah, very important. I can understand that. And what the process you just described is perfect for parents or grandparents in this case too, to use with kids. That's a wonderful thing. It's so interesting, Sandy, because I know this is your life work. This is what you've been doing your whole life, is helping people clear this stuff so that they can be here in this powerful present. Why are you so passionate about helping people clear their negativity?
Well, that's always a good question. Why was actually I felt I was actually sent here with that actual mission. When you say why did God send you? Uniquely, what's one of the things that's very unique about me is I never let go of something till I feel it's complete. Like the client might leave, but if it didn't get completed, I have never let go of it. I will remember it for 30, 40 years, as I have some of those things in my mind. I have very few things that I feel didn't get completed, but I have things in process, like that have been going on, say, 1 or 2 years. Like I'm working on something like that right now. Last night, a piece of it came in that I've been looking for, say, for a whole year. And I've been
Wow.
working on it with another person for the last 24 hours when the piece emerged. So, in other words, what works in a powerful process like that is two or more engaged in an intention. Just like we started out the clearing. And that this intention will carry you through till the answer has really come through. That's why anybody that I join with as a client or a friend, we have an intention or a clear thing we're working on, a clear purpose. And we will get there no matter what, as long as we stay open to looking at all the signs that we're given and all the messages, which we're
Mm.
always getting there, even though we may think we're not getting there.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then it seems like, for me anyway, there's layers. There are layers of the onions. For instance, they say peel back the layers, and you think you've healed it maybe, and yet there might still be something else, that little thing still stuck in there. So that's what you help people clear as well. First, you help identify it, and then help to clear it.
Right. I'm working with a psychiatrist. We're colleagues. 18 years I worked with the same psychiatrist for my clients. And last night, as I said, we came to a piece that I never thought we'd ever get. And it looked really hopeless because it even involved illegality.
Mm.
And I didn't know if we'd ever get there, but I was praying very hard, and everybody involved actually was praying, except maybe the client, but other people who were involved in it were praying. And we came there. And it was a huge breakthrough to faith
Mm.
and intention. So one thing that's unique about me is I never let go of it till it has moved and it is solved. It'll be in my head forever.
Love it. I love that. Now, you've worked with lots and lots of clients over all these years. Do you find that there's some kind of common theme or common obstacle or some kind of common topic that a lot of people have that they come to you that you help?
Yeah, one of the things I work with is separation. That they believe they have a conflict, maybe from their husband, wife, mother, brother, sister, child, and I work to bring the conflict of separation back to peace and love. That's something I always work with.
Mhm.
Abandonment or rejection or betrayal. I find these important themes in divorce and in the will. A lot of people, when they receive inheritance, go through a betrayal with somebody or a
Mm.
conflict about the will, which could end up in separation from that person. And I always say, we really want to solve this without a lawyer, if possible, so that we could come back to love no matter what the outcome is, because we're always in relationship with people forever. It's
Mm.
not ever over. So if there is a conflict, we'll take it to our grave. We'll always be thinking about that. That person and I do not feel good about each other, and we're not at peace and love. So every relationship has to go to peace and love in order for us to be able to sit there on our deathbed and feel we are complete.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, that's great. So you mentioned divorce or separation. Let's talk about divorce specifically, because you've worked with obviously many divorced people or people contemplating divorce. What would you say is the most common mistake people make when they're deciding to get divorced?
One thing that they believe is that the relationship is over and that this piece of paper will get them out of this relationship and they will not have to deal with this person ever again. And that's a fallacy. I have, I'm writing one book on the power of clearing, which I
Mm.
called I Just Want Peace. And I wanted to call one of the books I was writing, There Is No Divorce. But my daughter Charisma said that nobody will buy my book if I call it There Is No Divorce because everybody wants to be divorced. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And I had never thought of that idea because I actually believe there is no divorce in the sense that people are trying to get divorced, which is to get rid of this person because they have upset them so much. And in the clearing process, each door, each window that somebody upsets us in, or what they do or say that upsets us, is an opening to what we need to clear. So each upset is kind of like a win or some kind of gift because it shows me what I need to clear or release about, even though it doesn't feel good at the time. That I could be very upset, I could be what I call very triggered or very perturbated or very out of kilt. But it is a doorway to what I really need to release about. So the hardest people that we have in relationship are the ones that are closest to us. It could be our husband, our wife, our best friend, our brother, our sister, our mother or father. But the ones that are the hardest are the greatest breakthroughs to us in the clearing. That's why when I do the process with somebody, in general, I always work with all these characters to be sure there isn't a nugget of something we could get to in your own personal clearing of what you need to clear inside yourself to feel really complete at love, peace, and joy about these people. That these people bring up in it. So we never divorce them. In other words, many years ago, I worked with this love lawyer when I lived in San Francisco, because I still also did live in California for 20 years, in San Francisco, and Haight-Ashbury, in Marin County, Mill Valley, Tiburon, all those lovely places. And I met this love lawyer, and he and I worked together.
Did you call him a love lawyer?
Yeah, he was a love lawyer. He called himself that. And we worked together for years because he would work with these divorce cases, and I would work with them emotionally. We had a pact, he and I, or an intention, that these clients would come back to love with the original person they were divorcing, or he would not get them a divorce.
Wow.
Because he and I agreed that you don't get divorced unless you're clear, in the sense that you no longer have them as a bag you're carrying on your back, that you're always going to think about what happened between you and her or him, and so excite this in your new relationship and think it's going to happen again. And it would if it's not cleared. Otherwise, anything that didn't get cleared in one relationship will carry you to the next in some way, be projected into it, and it will be something that will come up between you and that new person, even if it takes a year for it to surface. Because in the beginning, we can all have a honeymoon, but as time goes on, what I haven't cleared in my bag of the past, of my negative traumas and my negative beliefs, will always be projected into the new situation. And that is something that I can say is absolutely true.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard the saying, oh, you keep marrying the same person over and over and over. So those are the people that have not cleared.
They're marrying the same lesson, actually, over and over and over. It may look like something new, but in essence, when we take it through and it's gone on for years, I have a person I'm working with now about that, and it will be happening over and over in a different way. But it will say the same thing. Right.
Wow, great. You know, we're near the end here, Sandy. I just would wonder if you can just share with our listeners one final thought about, say somebody has something that's nagging at them that they know they have to release. What can you tell them they can do today to get the process started?
Right. One thing they can do is to write down their negative self-talk about this person and then themselves, okay? And what's the belief that's being generated in the talk? I'll give you an example. I feel that they didn't call me, okay? And they had said they would. Let's say they have that down and keeps going on in their mind. They said they would call, they never keep their word. And you close your eyes, as I'm doing right now, and just say to yourself, what is it that it says about me to me? And it just takes a few moments of reflection and quiet, like, I'll give you an example, it might come to you, that I'm worthless, or not wanted, or not good enough, or not lovable. So what we're actually clearing in the end in the belief is those statements. That I'm worthless, not lovable, not wanted, and rejected.
Wow.
And ultimately that I'm separate from them. And that's the greatest pain we can feel, is that we're separate. And that's what everything we're happening in this universe, the violence, the attack, all that were going on, this political fight between these presidents who want to be president, it really is ultimately to me about the word separation. We are still not getting, we are one and joined and one family. And as long as we don't get that, we're still going to have this conflict.
Yep, I agree with you. Sandy, this has been great. I so appreciate you, and I love the work that you're doing and the effect you have on the world and the people that you're reaching. And it's, of course, we know about ripples, right? It's going out there, and more people are clearing and making the path and teaching what you're teaching and doing, the type of work that you're doing. And I am looking forward to reading your book very much whenever that is ready. And, Sandy, I know that people are listening right now. They want to know more about you, perhaps. And I know you have a gift for them. So if you would please tell us about that, where they can learn more about you and where they can get your gift, that would be awesome.
Right. By the way, I did put three articles that are pertinent to what we're talking about. We will be there within a week. I have two now, but there's a third one coming on the Powerful You Publishing site, where the blog and the articles. And people can contact me through my website, www.sandylevey, SANDYLEVEY.com. And I also prepared what I thought, since a sign, so anybody who wanted to write it down, that I have my phone number in the Pacific.
Hold it up higher. Higher. There you go.
And my website, and anybody can call from 8 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night PST time, 7 days a week. I work pretty much 7 days a week because people have emergencies and they have special times they can work. So anybody can call me for a free 30-minute consultation on what they're going through and how I might see what they need to clear and what advice I could give on it, even if it's just for 30 minutes.
Beautiful. Sandy.
Anybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sandy. I so appreciate you. I'm so happy that you shared your story in this book. I'm grateful for you for being a trailblazer and a pioneer in this whole life coaching industry, which is so important and needed. Especially personally, I love the spiritual work that you're doing, and it's all spiritual, and I know that, and I appreciate that because we are all in this together. So the more people that we can help along the way, it's a beautiful thing. So I appreciate you.
It's been a pleasure to talk with you and to work with you in the Powerful You Publishing project, because I feel all the people who are part of it are such a high level being.
Yes, they are. They're beautiful people. I love it. And I love this work that I do. I love these people that we attract and who we get to work with. It's an honor. And listeners, thank you, because you're these people too, right? You're listening to this because you are on this evolutionary journey. You are in this life wanting to maybe up-level your own life, your own relationships, your own living more on purpose in this world, really. So thank you for doing this, and thank you for listening in and then enacting some of these things that you have learned and bringing them into your life. And also, I know for sure you're going to want to read this book, The Art and Truth of Transformation for Women. Our launch day is October 20th. And so if you go to our website, transformation-book.com, you'll be directed to Amazon to buy the book. You bring your Amazon receipt number back with you, you sign in, and you get to receive, not only you'll have this wonderful book, but you will also receive 35 or more beautiful gifts from our authors and aligned partners. So you definitely want to do that October 20th. And for right now, everybody, I recommend that you do what Sandy talked about, help yourself to some clearing work, like she said, about writing things down and allowing yourself to connect and bring yourself to peace and love in your own life and your relationships. So thank you all. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.